Vikings start the 2024 season 1-0 with the victory here in MetLife Stadium against the Giants. I call it a dominating victory, Ben Leber, but Coach called it a significant margin. Which I thought was just great because I was like, I don't know, it felt like a dominating win today.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's great at doing that. You know, he can he doesn't want to say dominant because then it's going to end up being all over the place, and he's got to answer that for the next 3 days. But yes, we can say it. It was dominant. You know, I'm just so proud of the way these guys sort of bounced back because it didn't start off dominant.
No, it didn't. In fact, it had shades of 2023 all over it with the sack and then the fumble on the first drive. And they were able to overcome that early adversity and really build a rhythm offensively. Where did you see the turnaround after that turnover? Like, what was the sideline like?
It was that big JJ catch, that 40-plus yard catch on the Vikings sideline. That right there sparked everything. You know, you could see the shift in the offense. They kind of like walked a little taller. There was a little sense of urgency. You know, if you could actually see the confidence, you know, physically, like they were showing it. And from that play on, it just seemed like, you know, we can just pick them apart. I thought, you know, KOC did a great job of just being patient with their offense as well. You know, I don't think a run game was probably where they wanted it in the first half, but definitely took off in the second half. And, you know, credit to those guys up front because all we talked about leading up to this game was how good this Giants defensive front was. And for the most part, they handled them. That's
true. When you say patient, what's an example of patience from KOC in this game?
Well, I just think that he, you know, when he felt really good with Kirk, the last couple of years, we would see some bigger shots, like actual called shots down the field. And it didn't look like, you know, we had to take those shots. He was okay with Sam just kind of finding a rhythm, you know, getting him outside the pocket a little bit. If he had to run, he could go ahead and do that, go ahead and check the ball down. There always seemed to be sort of the obvious outlet for Sam Darnold, and he took those when he needed to. So that's kind of what I mean, that he just, you know, it wasn't like, oh, we got to throw the ball 40 yards downfield all the time. And I think that you got to hold yourself back. After that catch that JJ had, it's like, oh, we can do that. And you probably have a tendency like, I'm going to call some bigger shots. You know, sometimes that's it gets too risky. You turn the ball over. So I just liked his tempo and patience that he had with his offensive play calling.
He had a lot of confidence in his offensive play caller on the field. And Sam Darnold, he completed 12 of his first 12 passes. He went on to be 19 of 24 for 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the interception, which was obviously a tipped ball at the line. I mean, what more could you ask for in a start from Sam Darnold in today?
You really can. I mean, I think anybody that watched the game, I mean, if you're just stat watching, you're like, oh, Sam had another interception. But it was, you know, you watch the game, you realize it wasn't his fault. And, you know, defensive guys are going to make plays, and they did a good job just getting push on him to knock his arm and tip that ball. He only really had one play where I was like, oh, when he threw the ball, I'm like, no. And then, you know, it was a deflected pass. It was incomplete. But I thought he played safe, and not to say that he wasn't making plays, but he just played smart. You know, he was just taking what the defense really was going to give him. He trusted his guys, again, like JJ, you know, in certain situations to make the plays when they had to make the plays. So I just thought, you know, his numbers reflect that. He was smart, he was efficient, and he did exactly what this offense needed him to do.
We had a lot of free agents that joined this team this offseason, Sam being one of them. But there's probably not one more exciting offensively than Aaron Jones. And you could feel the difference in that run game just in his style, his commitment to the plays, to finish plays strong. And it's very important to note that rushing touchdown was the first touchdown of the Vikings this season. They didn't get a rushing touchdown until week 8 last year. So that was a great way to set the tone.
Yeah, it really was, and he showed a lot of what this running attack can look like with him. I mean, he can slash on the inside, and he's got the speed to get to the edge and make people miss. You talk about it, Tatum, the strength that he had. I mean, I guess I didn't realize maybe until I saw it with my own eyes and looking at that critically when he's in a Viking uniform, but his power and leg drive that he displayed to finish the plays, I did not really expect to see that out of him on a consistent basis, but there's something about the way he runs. It's smooth. It's silky.
It's effortless.
Like, yeah, it's effortless.
It's like
almost,
he's not trying.
Yeah, it's almost like artistic in a way that he approaches the line of scrimmage. So I just could not get enough of him.
That was great.
I could watch him run 20 more times this game.
Well, I did mention all the new faces, the free agents, so I got to switch to the other side of the ball because I'm going to put you on the spot here for a second real quick. Name the defensive MVP.
Oh, boy.
Right?
I mean,
it's hard to choose one.
It's hard to choose.
It's hard to choose just one.
I don't know, man. So many guys come to mind. I know that, Van Ginkel played out of his mind today. It was just such a smart play on that pick six. He kind of just talked about it. He's like, yeah, is this what we do when we watch film? It's empty personnel, and you got 4 guys out to my left. There's no reason for me to rush up field. So he played it extremely smart and made the play. I know that maybe not the MVP, but I just have to say his name.
MVP.
Harrison Phillips.
Yes.
Harrison Phillips balled out
really
today.
Did.
And I don't know if he gets enough credit. Buller doesn't get enough credit. Tillery doesn't get enough credit. They shut down this rushing attack for whatever that means. But I know they ended up with 74 yards. A lot of that, I think, came in kind of garbage-ish time. But the way they handled that offensive line, the way that they stayed in their gaps, they played with their hat in hands, they stayed on their feet, and allowed the linebackers to scrape and make plays, they were phenomenal. He was phenomenal today.
Up until that time, maybe garbage time is what we're going to call it, they were only allowing under 3 yards per rushing attempt, which is phenomenal. We talked about this before we got on here. It was 12 quarterback hits, 5 sacks, 2 interceptions. I mean, the defense ate all day, and I felt like they just came out here and executed Brian Flores' scheme perfectly. If you had to name an honorable mention out of those, do we give it to Patrick Jones the second with his 2 sacks?
Yeah, probably.
Dallas Turner gets a sack
Dallas
today.
Turner got a sack. Let's mention Patrick Jones. I mean, this is a guy that I think has flown under the radar a little bit. We kept hearing about him during training camp of like, man, he's having a good camp. The guy just keeps improving, and we would mention the free agents. We would mention some of the new faces, and I'd oftentimes get don't forget about Patrick Jones. And he came out and told everybody why. You cannot forget about this guy. He plays with a relentlessly high motor. His pass rushing skills are getting better and better. His twitch seems to be better and better. And his instincts have always been there. So you put all that together, I think, this is just a start for him. I think, with our rotations and keeping guys fresh, and he in particular, I think that he's going to just continue this and have a big year.
Another note to make, Harry the Hitman, Harrison Smith, recorded his 35th career interception, and it was so good to see him be able to get a takeaway. You have to kind of turn the page on the season now and see what's next for this team. They go back to San Francisco, or they go back to Minnesota, host San Francisco. It's going to be a tough matchup again. How can they build off the performance today?
Well, I think just know defensively that they just trust in the scheme. Trust in the blitzes that are designed, and I think more importantly, trust in the deception of the blitz. Making everything, when they come up to the line of scrimmage, and I was just talking to Josh Metellus about this in the locker room, their ability, like they can see the offense getting flustered, and, they can see in the quarterback's eyes the confusion when you get multiple safeties, multiple linebackers mugging up on the line of scrimmage, and sometimes we blitz, oftentimes we drop out, and they don't know what coverage we're in, they don't know where we're rolling, and so that deception, once again, I think going into San Fran is going to be great to put on tape, give Brock Purdy a lot to think about. And then, I think offensively, look, we needed to see some confidence out of Sam Darnold. I mean, everybody was asking and talking about it before the game. What's this offense going to look like? Can we run the football? Can he be efficient? Are we going to be deep down the field shots? Well, we showed a little bit of everything. So, again, I think it's just a huge confidence builder that, hey, we know that we can, so let's go out and do it.
All right, let's go out and do it. The 49ers come to Minnesota next weekend. The defense, though, that's the story of the day, not allowing the Giants to score a touchdown. And this is actually the first 3-possession win by the Vikings since 2019. That's 5 years, Ben. 5 years since they've had a victory of this magnitude or margin of victory this large. So that is some great news and such great momentum as we head into week 2. And we will see you guys next week.